Good morning. Hi, this is Andrea. I want to share with you a personal story today about my relationship with food. And first of all, before I start with that, please click the subscribe button. That really helps our channel. And if you want to support any YouTuber anywhere, clicking that subscribe button is very, very supportive and it's completely free. Okay. And if you want to share this, feel free to share it. The more, the merrier in this channel. And just like with anything, pick what you want and leave the rest, just like with any workshop, seminar, or class you attend. Okay. So I wanted to share with you through my yoga journey what I've discovered about my relationship with food and the culture I come from with food and how that affected my overall well being. So I remember being on a diet, my first diet in second grade. Second grade. Like I had this weird awareness that I was fat. And, you know, somebody that young should not like really understand fat, right? And so I remember they showed me how to count my calories in second grade, right? My parents did. I remember the pediatrician handing me this diet of like this very concise list of food that I was allowed to eat. I didn't even understand what that meant, right? So I, that was my first, like, oh my gosh, I'm fat. And then I remember being like around third or fourth grade and I would just, like, I would eat food and then I would throw it up. And it wasn't a conscious decision to throw up. Like I didn't consciously say I'm going to throw up this food. I was too young for that. I was hungry. Like I was just a hungry child walking around because I had such a limited diet. Okay. So I would throw up the food and my mom knew about it, like, because I didn't like it. It was uncomfortable for me to throw up the food. So I went to my mom about it, or she would see me. It wasn't like a hidden thing, right? Like I would get up from the dinner table and go throw up, and she would come help me. She would even like come help me in the bathroom. And so, and it would just wipe me out like completely as a kid. And it was assumed that I was an anxious child, a nervous child, always had stomach problems such as this. And I did. I'm sure if part of it was I was a very sensitive kid, an empathic kid, right? So I'm sure some of it did come from like just being an empath, not knowing what to do with it. My parents didn't have the resources. You couldn't Google back then, right? Like the generation above us, we can Google things. We can go to a bookstore, a nutritionist, there's plenty of resources out there for us. Even a therapist, it's much easier for parents to get help now, and it's much more accepted. Well, back then, no one really knew. They just knew, okay, so you've got a chubby kid, right? And really, what they were doing, the doctor was trying to probably like circumvent like diabetes and other childhood illnesses, which we did. I didn't have any of that, right? So then it kind of went on and off through like my adolescence, the throwing up on and off. My 20s, I had a partner in my 20s. And when I would get stressed, I would throw up my food. She would get so mad at me, like so mad at me for doing it. And can I tell you, I couldn't help it. It wasn't on purpose. I remember being like, but I'm not doing this on purpose. Okay. So even then, I really didn't quite realize what it was. I just thought it was an anxious, nervous stomach. And then I proceed into, and it didn't happen all the time. It was just sort of in and out, right? And then I constantly had this push pull relationship with food. And I know now I was eating till I was numb. I was numbing myself because I was very, very sensitive and empathic and psychic. And I just didn't want to see, right? I would do that as a kid too. I would eat like the whole bag of chips and the whole thing of like cookies. I didn't have any, like, so, you know how some people, if there's alcohol in the house, they have to drink it. Like, that's how I was with food. If there was like food in the house, I had to eat it. And I still didn't know that was, I still didn't really know that was like a problem. Because, and I was very malnourished at some points in my life. And I didn't, but I was still what the doctors consider to carry a little extra weight. Looking back at my pictures now, I was just very curvy. I looked like Marilyn Monroe. My goodness, if I looked like that now, so happy. But I will say I'm very happy with my body now, and I've fallen into self acceptance. So then I, because of my nervous stomach or whatever that was, really it was food allergies. It was actually gluten intolerance, and no one knew that, right? I would have days on through my adulthood where I would just throw up nonstop, and I didn't know why. And everyone just thought, well, she's nervous, she's anxious, she's sensitive. No, it was food allergies and stress and anxiety. That's true. So then I had my very good friend, you get the best advice from healers, way better advice than I got from physicians, which I'm going to tell you. See your doctors, but also see other holistic people, because oftentimes that's where you're going to get your answer. And then you can use that information to talk to your doctor, right? So this woman said, honey, I think you need to stop eating gluten. That's exactly Ray Southern. It's way Southern woman, love her. Honey, I think you need to stop eating gluten. So you know what? I was like, you know what? I think you're right. So I went home that day. By this time I was with a new partner and I was like, okay, I'm not going to eat gluten. And I didn't. I stopped that day. Oh, so I skipped the 20s when I like spent, a retirement fund at Weight Watchers, right? Like I got to go back. My mother put me and my grandmother in Weight Watchers about when I was in the 7th grade, and I would go with my grandmother to Weight Watchers, right? And Weight Watchers back then was all about restraint from food, right? Basically, like have self control and be hungry. And I was in the tier where I wasn't that big, so I wasn't like allowed a lot of points or calories, right? I would just be like hungry all the time. Right? So I learned. I used to dream about eating food. Like I would wake up and I would just dream that I was eating like burgers and like potatoes, and I learned how to go to bed hungry, basically. And with that, and I don't bash them. They've changed now. I think they've become a lot more like healthy. Like they've evolved over times. But that particular time, it was very accepted to just refrain from food. And so I went, and I did it again in my 20s, right? My partner did it. My partner and I did it. She was more overweight than I was. She had more success with it, but I think we did it for a year solid straight. And I think the most I lost was 30 pounds, right? But 30 pounds really was a lot for me because I wasn't huge. Like I looked in the mirror and I thought I was huge. I had such a complex of fat that it's like when I met someone new, I almost wanted to be like, yeah, I know I'm fat. Like just put it on the table because I just thought everyone was staring at me thinking you're fat, right? And I wasn't, right? I wasn't like this gigantic cow that I thought people perceived me as. Through those years, I was successful in getting a college degree. I was successful in any job or career I chose, right? And I navigated it fine, right? I would have days and weeks where I ate hardly anything, and I would have days and weeks where I just gorged. And then while we were in Weight Watchers, it was so weird. Like I would not eat all day to save my points and then like gorge at night. Or we would go to Weight Watchers and then like go to Crystal after. Like the psychology around it was so like I know better now. But even back then there still was not a lot of resources. And if I were to see a physician, they would say, well, you're still about 20 pounds overweight. And they would not say, this is not a healthy way of life. I didn't have a nutritionist. Now I have a nutritionist that I see. And it's important that you have a nutritionist, right? It's important that you have both. So then I was gluten free and I dropped weight so fast being gluten free, so fast, and my stomach settled down. I stopped throwing up. I stopped having this like urge to throw up. So I started eating for my body and it affected my psychology. And it put me like I would wake up the next morning and just my clothes would fall off, like literally. So, and to this day, I'm gluten free because I do believe I'm gluten intolerant. And I don't know, I think I'm borderline celiac, if I had to be honest. So then I went through, so I haven't eaten gluten since, and it did do amazing things for me. To be gluten free, I definitely, that was adding to like it was adding to my already like such food relationship situation, right? So then I went years later, it's like spiritually, I got the message. You're going to have to go vegan one day. You're going to have to go vegan because I had decided that I wanted a career in metaphysics. I decided that I wanted a career doing what I love. Reiki, intuitive readings, life coaching. I wanted that career. So as I was merging into that career, Spirit was like, you're going to have to be vegan. So, okay. So I became vegan. I studied on it. I met these wonderful vegan people, and they showed me like healthier ways of being vegan and that it's not about depriving. And I went vegan and it was awesome. Well, it was like a journey. First, I stopped eating like red meat and then chicken and then turkey and then I stopped fish. Now, quitting dairy was amazing because it cleared my face up. It cleared my asthma up. Like I had horrible migraines and asthma till I quit dairy, right? So then I did that, and the whole time I was like training and learning and getting certified to be a life coach and a healer and a counselor and intuition and finishing up all this education around it to run retreats and such. And so more and more I wanted to do better. I wanted to take care of myself better, so I started eating organic. So I went through this time. It was like in a weird transition period for me where I was only eating foods that was vegan, gluten-free, and organic. And I dropped weight like so fast. Okay. And I remember seeing my family at some point in this journey. My parents were like looking at me for the first time ever. They looked at me and they were like, you have lost too much weight. Like, you were too skinny. And my clothes were legitimately falling off of me, but I was so proud because I kept getting positive feedback. Like, I was so proud. Here's the thing, when you're in it, when you have a weird relationship with food and it borderlines an eating disorder, you don't know it when you're in it. Like, you couldn't have convinced me that, I mean, in my mind, I was doing the exact right thing for my body. In my mind, I was, and you could not have convinced me otherwise. Okay. And so I was doing it and I was severely like dehydrated the whole time and like starving, right? I'm still vegan and gluten free. I've learned healthier relationships with food. And through this process, I started yoga. And I was like, okay, I loved yoga, loved yoga. I had a teacher and she said, Andrea, if you do yoga every day for 30 days, your life will change. And I did it. I joined the yoga studio and I did yoga every single day. Now, I couldn't do the poses. It was a mess. I was just a mess on the mat, right? But I did it. And can I tell you, after that 30 days, my life really did get better. My life really did get better. And I was like, okay, I would like to teach this. So I took the yoga teacher training and then I went on to develop my own yoga teacher training. And through that process, I've let go of such strenuous like food restraints. Like, I still do vegan and gluten free, but I still allow myself to eat more. I still don't restrain from so many carbs. I don't, like, I was eating basically kale and water, right? I really was. And kale is a very nutritious food. We need more food with that, right? And what happened with that was, you can talk to my nutritionist about it. I found out that I've since blown my gallbladder, right? I still have it. They didn't remove it. I've figured out how to, I've gotten the right supplements for it and I nurture it and I send it love and healing and it's there. It's fine. I have a good relationship with my gallbladder now, but it's because of I had such a roller coaster of weight loss my whole life. Okay. And I have learned that nutrition is about like self-love and abundance. And you really can't eat anything in moderation. You can. I choose veganism because I choose to live in the yogic theory of being kind to all creatures, and I just can't do it. That's my personal choice. But I just can't eat an animal. And because it's like I can hear them talking or something. It's so weird. I don't know. Maybe that's my thing. Maybe that's just me. But I grew up eating it. And I grew up eating burgers, and I remember what they taste like and what the grill smelled like and chicken wings and hot dogs and all that stuff every American kid in the South grew up eating, right? And so I have good memories of that food. I do. But I choose not to do it. But yet I found healthier alternatives for me so I don't feel deprived and I still can celebrate with friends and family. And so since then, I've learned that basically that I fully and completely love my body with all the curves. It's okay to have curves. It's okay. It's okay to have curves, bottom line. And it's okay to completely love your body. And you're a whole person. You're a whole person, single or married. You're a whole person, whatever size you are. Okay. You're a whole person and you deserve to love and nurture every cell in your body. Okay. And it has nothing to do with size. And if you have that complex where you just think you're fat all the time, please change that adjective and look in the mirror and say, I'm luscious, I'm beautiful, I'm a goddess. And then work on toning and just eating right and getting outside and experiencing a happy life. That's what I encourage you to do. Just bring joy into your life in whatever way you can. And then start your self-love and self-encouraging path, and yoga helped me do that because it's all about self-acceptance, self-love, not comparing yourself to others and being on your own spiritual journey. And how does food incorporate with that? We don't deprive ourselves and we don't starve and we don't dehydrate or malnourish. We eat throughout the day healthy, tasty foods in moderation. And that's what I wanted to share with you today. I wanted to be very open about my relationship with food because I hope that it inspires others. Because even when you're in anything like that, any sort of like dysmorphia or where you're not seeing what other people are seeing, right? It's because when you're in it, you don't know it, right? Like when you're in like a food struggle or a food battle, or you have an unhealthy relationship with food, or you're using it to reward or punish yourself, you don't know it. Like you don't know that's what you're doing. Other people do, but you don't know it. And then when you are in, like, even with like an abusive relationship, you don't know it when you're in it. You honestly don't. And so that's what I wanted to share with you today. And know that I want everyone to be on a good path where they're eating good, healthy foods that nourish their body and they're loving their body in the meantime. Okay. And if you wanted to find out more about me, my website is in the description box. Thank you and namaste.